Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Unrivaled and Rising podcast. I only have Terry, co-host Terry, here today.
Hi, everyone.
Terry, Kimberly had an appointment this morning, and she's a busy lady, and so we honor that because she needs to get away sometimes. So we get it. And today is going to be interesting because we haven't had a lot of guests who share their individual story about unraveling and rising. We have shared our individual stories. You can go back and listen to those individual episodes. Each one of us took an entire episode to share our stories of unraveling and rising. And so we have another story like that today. And we love having men on the podcast because we don't always have men that are open enough to having these conversations. So today, our guest is Dan Riley, who is somebody I know as a friend and somebody that I have a high respect for and high regard for. So, Dan, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate it.
My
Thank
pleasure. My pleasure.
Yes. And you'll see his beautiful background. That's one of his photos. He's a gifted photographer. I was going to show this really quickly on the episode in the background here. Whoops, that's not the right one. I got this. There you go. Some of his photography that I wanted to show. This is for the YouTube channel. So if you're listening on Spotify or on iTunes or something like that, you're going to have to go to YouTube and look at the video so you can see his photography. We'll also put a link to your website, Danny, in the show notes. So we'll have a link directly to your website so people can see your beautiful work. And he's available to hire folks. So, he's available if you need someone to come in and do some beautiful work for you. So thanks so much for coming. And so, Dan, you haven't had one of these conversations yet, have you, about kind of this experience on a podcast yet?
I've never been on a podcast.
Okay.
To start there, I did do an article with Eric Herman that we later decided wasn't the right timing to put the information out there. But no, this isn't something that I've ever really done, and not something that I'm really opposed to doing in any way. I'm actually kind of excited about it. So
good.
Yay.
Well, thank you again. And I guess
Glad to
for
have
us
you.
to just start out, I don't know if you want to just tell us a little bit about your background, your childhood, or anywhere you want to start, just talking about your journey in life and what got you to where you are today. Wherever you'd like to start, we'd love to hear, because this is something that's going to help someone else who has, similar things that have happened to them, or it's going to help the journey of another person, and that's what we're hoping for.
So it's an unraveled and rising podcast. So
Yes.
at what point in your life did you feel unraveled?
Unraveled. It would be easier to discuss at what point I didn't feel unraveled.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been unraveled since about 2 till about 40.
Okay.
My own unraveling.
Yeah.
Self-induced.
Well, how self-induced is it at 2 years old, though? I don't know.
Well, okay, so that's not, but it didn't take long. I mean, to give you an idea, I was arrested at 9 or 10 for the first time for breaking and entering, stealing a handgun, and running away from home. So like I said, it's been a long span of just being an idiot. All the way until, so I'll start here for shock value. December of 2016, I was in the county jail, looking through the glass, talking to my public defender, explaining to him why 25 to life was not an option that I was willing to accept. In the state of California, I have 9 strikes. Usually 3 will get you 25 with an L. And this was the first offer that came back on this deal. It wasn't a major offense. It was drug possession and possession of a handgun. But because I had prior felonies, possession of a handgun while being searched by a police officer carries special circumstances. making it a violent crime. And so I was eligible to be struck out on that offense. Uh, but yeah, that was not long ago. That was less than 10 years ago. So I mean, you see, from 9 to 40, 41, it was not a pleasant experience.
Yeah. Do you have any awareness around what you think may have caused that?
Pursuit of pleasure, number one. Most of my offenses over this time, apart from when I was 9, was related to drugs in some way. There's a nature that I have that's either a blessing or a curse.
Mhm.
It's that same nature, that determination to take something as far as you can possibly take it, which is what I did with drugs. Just flip that on its head and use that in business, and now it's a blessing. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, mostly just drugs, and I don't know, maybe somewhere in there subconsciously it was me, not wanting to face the realities of adult life. Very good possibility.
Yeah.
But I've never gone to see a psychologist or a therapist or anything like that. Like I said, I was telling you, Terry, unless it's unless it comes from scripture, I don't put any stock in it. I psychology a lot is based on philosophy and sure observation and studying that kind of thing. But if you're not leading me in a way of scripturally,
Mhm.
I don't have a lot of faith in it. So that's not something I ever pursued. I just went to church. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with
No.
going to church and finding some inspiration, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. So
Do
I
you
was
feel?
just I was
Go ahead,
just
Terry.
curious, like, yeah, because you were saying from like 2 to 9 years old. So I was just curious, like, prior to all this stuff that started beginning in 9 years old, like, we can't, we really don't have any control of the things that are happening prior to that. And
Right.
so many things prior to the things that I felt like in my own life, things that happened to me as a young child, I didn't have control of. But then later on in life, created decisions. Pain in my younger life created decisions, helped me make decisions I made later on in my life. So I didn't have control over this part of my life. I had control over this part of my life, but so many of the decisions I made later on in my life came from things that happened as a child, if that makes
Yes.
sense. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious if you had any awareness around any of that part.
Yeah. So I say too. So drugs and alcohol were a part of both my parents' lives.
Mhm.
And that affected their relationship. It affected who they were as people,
Yeah.
but it dramatically affected my relationship to them.
Yeah.
Mom and dad split up when I was 2. I ended up with my mom, who was an alcoholic for many years, men in and out of her life. But because of her own issues, whatever they may have been, she was very overbearing,
Mm.
and very verbally and physically abusive. And so this created this timid need to please uh everyone kind of person,
Yeah.
which in some regards has its values, because it's rendered me humble in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
but it also created a monster in that, there's often little confidence, and dealing with people can be a struggle. Anxieties,
Mhm.
Fears, deep seated, subconscious fears,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So yeah, by the time I was eight or nine, somewhere around nine. Well, it was that thing that I mentioned earlier that got me. I was in juvenile hall for like 7 months, and after that, ended up in group homes. But uh, at one point, she had kicked me at 8 or 9. She had
Mhm.
kicked me out of the house, and called the cops and said that I ran away. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I was dealing with. What was I, an angel kid? Probably not.
Yeah. How can you
But
be? Yeah.
but that doesn't justify the kinds of things that I still had to deal with. So
100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, um, as a child, we have emotional needs that must be met,
Hmm.
and we look to our caregivers to meet those needs. And when those don't get met, there are milestones that don't get met in our life, and that need to be met. So
Yes.
we go looking for those, right? To because they need to be met, and sometimes we're not looking for them in the right places. So
Makes
that
perfect sense to me.
makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. And we were talking about this earlier, Michelle, that
Yeah.
how we meet those needs, we got them met exactly the way we needed to at the time, right? And so there's no shame in that, right? We did what
Right.
we had
You
to
kicked
do.
into survival mode. You were in survival
Yes.
mode
Absolutely.
at that point.
And we
Yeah.
do what we have to do to survive at that
Yep.
moment. 100%. So
Yep.
um congratulations for you getting through that. Really, as a
Yeah.
child.
Because that's tough. Yeah. Yeah. Was there a moment when you mentioned this 2016 incident when you were is that like the time where you kind of had started having an awareness around the fact that you wanted to do something different? Or what was kind of the catalyst of
Mhm.
you figuring
So
out I need to make a change here or want to make a change here?
September 11th, 2001, um, I was going to junior college and studying English composition, doing just general ed. And then, in fact, at this point in my life, I had done a number of prison terms already and was very influenced by the skinhead mentality, in prison. Trying to find out, 'cause I essentially became a man in prison,
Mhm.
and trying to discover who I was as a man, as an adult, as a human being. I fell into into this mentality, um, it, white supremacy kind of thing. Um, and so I was in school doing research on this kind of mentality for this purpose, to serve that community. Um, and then this happened. I was hardcore against Christianity, Bible, blacks, Jews, whatever. And then this thing happened, and I'm just questions going, blaring in my brain, like what's going on in our country. And so I started asking questions, and I kid you not, I was a journeyman, tin knocker, sheet metal installer, uh, working in San Diego at the time, and I'm on the job site one day, standing on a ladder, hooking up a hood vent in this soon to be kitchen, and tossing around some books that I had read. One of which was "To Kill a Black Man," which is a book on Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, which I was reading for the wrong reasons, and ended up educated on some things. Um, Tossing around some scripture that I had read in the book of Luke, and this information just hit me like a ton of bricks. And at that very moment, all I knew was that Jesus Christ was the Son of God. That's all I
Mm.
knew. It was the most
Oh.
amazing. I ran around the job site just telling everybody. It's crazy. It was crazy, right? I had no church. It wasn't this thing. It was just this revealing. And that was the catalyst.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a
It was
major
crazy.
download right there.
So I
Love
started
it.
going, yeah, in fact, it was so hardcore that I went home that day and told my then girlfriend that I was selling everything that I owned to move into church to learn about God. I mean, it was that real to me. And she said, you know, hold on, pump the brakes. Let me take you to meet my pastor. And right. So at this time in our lives, she's a bartender. We're bar flies. And I'm like, wait a minute, you got a pastor? Like this hadn't been a conversation that ever came up for us. Right. But it was a backslidden Christian.
So had she been praying for you all this time?
No. I mean, we were bar flies. I mean,
Okay.
to the umpteenth degree, but like we lived in the bar. That was our life. And so we went to talk to her pastor, and we started going to church, and we eventually got married because we were living together, and the seed wasn't firmly planted, and the cares of the world came back in, and just as quick I was back out, being an idiot. And this was routine for many years. I knew in my heart what the truth was, but pursuit of pleasure and the cares of the world and in these kinds of things. And so it was back and forth, Michelle, to answer your question, all the way to 2016. And from 2003 to this point in 2016, my wife had been through hell with me. And even having gone to prison for what ended up being 2 years and 4 months out of a 7.5-year term, she insisted that I go to a discipleship program. It's a recovery place called U-Turn for Christ. Spent a couple months there. It was that time of 3 or 4 other times that okay, dummy, you're like 40 something years old. It's kind of time to retire. So yeah.
And what has the journey looked like since then? Like so I know you moved out of California. You probably just want to get away from the same old things that you've been a part of, but what was the journey kind of rebuilding at that point? Like what did you do to try to just rebuild your life?
So the first part is rebuilding a very damaged relationship to begin with, right? So coming out of prison was straight to this discipleship program for a couple months. And then moving back in with a very broken wife was a struggle for her. So rebuilding that relationship at my arrest, or just short of my arrest. So what we had I relapsed, began using like I've never used before. The only thing worse than a dope fiend is a dope fiend with endless resources. And I was making great money and in business with the service company. I'd relapsed. We split up. She took half the business. I took half the business. And within a year, I had lost my entire business, was homeless. And ended up living with this other woman. And she lived with that. And so, and then I went to prison, came out. That's what she was facing. That's what I was facing. That's what I was coming back to. So it was first, working on the relationship. And
so when you talk about brokenness, you're talking about the brokenness that you left her with, and then you were coming out and having to restore the pain that she was dealing with before you left going to prison. Is that what you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because she was hurt, number one, that I had relapsed yet again.
And then
Um,
the infidelity.
right.
Got it.
Right. Um, so it's rebuilding the relationship, which obviously is the most important. But then taking, with the intention of selling the business to leave California, I worked really hard at rebuilding um, what I had lost, and
Mm-hmm.
taking my value that I previously had, and employing it back into the business, and kind of growing it back up to something that we could sell. You know, we did that, and then got out of California. So those were the initial steps to
Yeah.
answer your question.
Makes sense. And then, I mean, you had to rebuild too, just on personally. It's not just the relationship side of it
Yeah.
too, Dan. You had to rebuild yourself and
Yeah.
who you were and your identity and addiction issues and things like that. That's commendable. It's not just the
It
fact
is
that you were
commendable.
committed to the relationship, but the fact that you were committing and dedicating yourself to, changing you and improving yourself. That's hard to do, especially if you're not even going through a recovery program. You're kind of doing it on your own.
Well, so and that's the beauty of it, and that's why I say so. That there was a time when we first started the service company in 2007, 2008. When I first got the idea to start a business, and we first started doing this thing, it was amazing. Like, you take somebody that's never been in business before, and you convince them that they can be their own employer, and the idea of business is just crazy for someone that's never entertained that idea. Um, and so I was on one for years, just in this business thing, and um, in the beginning, it was, look what the Lord has blessed our family with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we started doing well, and I discovered I was really good at a lot of these things, and then it became, look what the Lord and I have built. And, and in the end, it became, look what I have done.
Mm.
And everything went to my head. I lost sight of what was valuable in my life, and that's when the downward spiral happened. So all of that to say, Michelle, it's not me. I'm telling you, if you only knew and understood the things that are in my heart and in my head, um, it's just not me. It's not me, and it's not something I've worked on. I've had potential all my life, and that's been the story over my head all my life. This kid's got great potential. Um,
Well, Danny, I just want to stop you there for 1 second, and I just want to remind you that God is within you, and that
yes, ma'am.
His Holy Spirit lives in you, and so out he's with you. So it's His power in you. So
Right.
it's Him with you. So outside of His power, it's not you, but with His power in you, it is you and Him. So you do play a part in that.
I,
So
I I don't disagree with you. I'm just very cautious
I know, and
to
I
take
get
any credit whatsoever.
I 100% agree with you on that, because I walk that line very closely, and I always have to say, Lord, make sure that I never ever take away the credit that you get outside of this, and anything that happens in my life, that you are always glorified, and
Right.
it's not my power, it's your power. So I 100% respect you for that, but I also want you to give yourself credit for doing the hard work that he's given you power to do in His strength, because it has taken a lot of you saying yes to being obedient to what He's asked you to do. So I just want you to
Okay.
receive that, and to receive that, that you have done that.
Yes, ma'am.
He's like, yes, ma'am.
And I know that's hard, and I know that's hard for us to do. It is hard for us to do that, but I just want you to just open yourself up to receive that, because
Okay.
because you're receiving his blessings because you have been obedient to the call that he's asked you to do. And it's not outside of him. It's him within you.
Yes.
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 I love it. So you guys moved to Georgia. You're still you're still with her, right? I don't
Mhm.
want to
Mhm.
presume that that's
Yeah.
the case. Okay. So 'cause
Poor
I
thing.
know you're in a very loving relationship, but I just don't want to make presume that was the one you were talking about, because I would feel like an idiot if I did. So you guys moved to Georgia. You're kind of rebuilding, but I know you struggle a little bit trying to find your way professionally in Georgia, because I've known you. We've talked about these things
Mhm.
privately, but I know now you're really doing your photography full time, which I was kind of encouraging you to do, when you were doing this other stuff. And it's hard to do because it's a step in this direction. It's very scary step to take, off the cliff when you try to do something completely different than what you have been doing. And, to be able to ask people to work with you and ask, people to hire you and things like that is a scary thing. And I think you're kind of on the cusp of doing all that now. And I think it's going well. Am I wrong?
Yes. No, you're not wrong.
Okay, good.
There's a very, very small part of me kind of wishes you were wrong. But that's just the pressure. Uh, just in the last month, it's like lunch rush. Just I got a bunch of people that came through, and who knows? This is the scary part, right? You don't know if it's a seasonal thing, and it's just everything came down at once. Uh, Winter is coming, and the industry is seasonal that way. But uh, no, it's going really well, and there are things in business that I do pretty well, and that's connect with people, that's network with people, be involved. The cool thing is it comes natural. The cool thing is, um, it's not something that I don't enjoy doing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This kind of goes back to that psychology, from my childhood. There's a part of me that needs approval. There's a part of me that needs people in my life saying, "You know what? I see what you're doing, and what you're doing is valuable."
Yeah.
Um, it's because of that that helps me connect with other people, um, which is a huge bonus in business, because networking is, especially doing what I'm doing is important. So, I've got my tentacles in every aspect of our industry. Um, and people see that, the name's recognizable, because of that. So, uh, I think to some degree people appreciate that. Um,
Yeah.
that's my thinking anyway. I think there are people that see that this guy, is really wanting to be involved with the industry and add value to the industry. To what degree, whether that makes them hire me or not, I don't know, but uh, I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
And
Well, and
people
I
love
think,
a comeback story. Yeah, go
well, and
ahead.
I think you just like adding value to people, so that
Yeah.
Yes,
matters. Yeah,
yes,
I can feel that in you, and so
Yeah.
that matters.
yeah.
And tell
So
go ahead.
no, no, no. Go.
I was gonna say, what's the relationship like, and what's the strength behind the relationship now? I'm just curious. I see your posts on social media and stuff like that, but for those that don't know you, they don't know what's going on there. But it seems
At
like you
home.
guys are strong. You guys are stronger than ever.
Um. So yes. Uh. Well. So let's back up a little bit. So coming to Georgia was a pact. Um, it's not fully being adhered to, but we decided that we were going to get a place together with our son, his girl, and their kids, her kids, her kids at the time. Now they have their own. Uh, Everything's split in half. Decisions are split. Money split. Place is split. Boundaries are set. This is our space. This is your space. It, that so when I say that things have been breached to some degree. That's what I mean. Our closets are filled with other people's stuff, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah. So but the meat of it. So that was a struggle in light of the way. So they were both our kids were both in high school when we split up. Still very young, impressionable, damageable, and Denise and I. That's the easy part of reconciliation. You have two people that love each other deeply. It's not as hard to recover from as two stepchildren who you never really had the greatest relationship to begin with. Not only did you hurt mom, and they have a tight relationship, right? So so coming to Georgia and living in the same household, there was reconciliation that needed to take place there, rebuilding as well. And then our daughter, who was living in Hawaii with her now husband, ended up moving out here and is living in a travel trailer in the driveway. So our whole family is in this space.
Right.
And it's amazing because our grandbabies are here. But any situation like that is just going to be tough, especially in a household full of damaged people.
Yeah.
And we are all damaged. So, but I mean, otherwise, we're doing really well, relationship wise, considering.
But I love the fact that you're working on the healing process of that, because that's going to help with it not transferring over to the grandkids. If you guys kind of heal together as a family, then generationally, it's not going to be passed down to the grandkids. Hopefully,
That's
you know what I
right.
mean?
Yes.
That's what we all are kind of a part of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which would be amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because
I
it
just have so
starts
much
at home.
respect. Yeah, go ahead.
It starts at home, and it starts with you, and absolutely. And God turns everything for good, and he's a generational God. And so,
Yes.
and he changes generations. And I say that because I've watched that happen in my own. And so, what he will do, what he's done in your life does transfer down.
Yeah, it's a neat thing to see. It's interesting to see, because the same thing happened to me. It's happening to both of our kids. Is that because this happened to me as a kid, I refuse to allow it to happen to
100%.
my kids, and so I think Devin is really kind of approached fatherhood from that perspective. Like, there's
Yeah.
no way I would ever let my son experience the same kind of things that I did. And while I failed to do my job as a father early on, I still did better than both of my parents, which is sad.
Yeah.
But it's getting, generationally, it's getting better.
Yeah. It's
Down the
getting
road.
better.
So that's exciting. Yeah.
And you've taken accountability for that, and your kids have seen you've taken accountability for that, and it
Yeah.
changes everything.
I hope so.
And I just, it's unfortunate too that your parents, well, whatever they went through when they were kids that led to their behavior when you were young, that they didn't have the wherewithal to be able to try to help themselves.
Yeah.
That's
Because
unfortunate.
it's never a blame game, right? It's just,
Yeah.
it's we all do the best that we do with what we had.
Yeah.
And so,
Right.
and so as you've grown and learned more about yourself and about your own journey, you've been able to do better because you've learned.
See, and this is why I say I put very little stock in psychologists, because without an understanding of who God is and the realities of of God and that kind of thing, you don't understand the fact that the things that we endured, touching on what you said, the things that we endured as a child, all of these things went across God's desk. Like things didn't happen to us that he didn't approve. Right. And so when you go to do the blame game thing, you're not blaming your parents, you're blaming God. Is essentially what you're doing. You're saying, God, I didn't deserve the childhood that you gave me. And then I get to thinking, well,
God doesn't make mistakes.
right. But I get to thinking, but so I was born in a free country with endless resources and opportunities available to me. It hurts my heart to consider that there are people that are born into environments with no water, no food. I mean, what we think is poverty in this country is wealth in other countries. You know what I mean? So, the whole blame thing is pointless, and I find myself in that place not a lot from time to time. You know, there are certain character defects that I have that I look back and I'm pretty confident I know where they came from.
Yeah.
Right. And I get angry at my mother. But then there are things that have made me who I am that I wouldn't be apart from that either.
Yes.
So it's just this big useless circle that you run yourself around in trying to do that blame game thing. Yeah.
I feel you on that.
Maybe you took the best and the worst. You took the best and the worst from your mother.
Well,
you know what I mean? And it's like,
I can feel you on that because it took me a lot of years, but I can look at my family now, even on the days that I get really upset and they're just annoying me. And I can look at them as they're a blessing because I know that I wasn't put in my family haphazardly, and there was a purpose why I was put in that family, and ultimately I've learned so much, you know, and I wouldn't be the woman that I am today had I not gone through the life and the lessons that I've gone through in my life, and I was meant to go through them. Like they were specifically for me to go through so that I could become and discover the purpose that God had on my life.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, in response to what you said, there was no good, Michelle. There was nothing good to take from her. Nothing. Like I mean, we're in the red here, less than nothing to take from that. But what if there was good? And I needed to make that clear. But understanding what you may have meant, but there were good qualities that may have came out of the situation, not necessarily from her, but the circumstances.
Yeah, makes sense. That's what I meant.
Yeah,
100%.
I mean, it's another one of those indicators, right? There was so after that incident where I had run away, broke into one of her friend's houses, stole the gun, took off. I ended up going to juvenile hall. I was like 9 or 10. And I was there for 7 months because every 10 days, you have a disposition hearing every 10 days. And your parents, legal guardian, whoever is subpoenaed to that hearing to decide what they're going to do with you. And every 10 days I would go to court, and every 10 days she would not show up. This went on for 7 months until the state finally decided to put me in a group home. On my way to the group home, I was driven there by a very close friend of mine who's probably one of my best friends to this day. He took me by to see my mom before I showed up, knocked on the door, and she creaked open the door and said, "You can't be here. He doesn't want you here." I'm like 9 or 10 years old. Now, I'm trying to wrap my brain around what a 9 or 10-year-old kid could possibly do that would be that bad, but yeah. So that's the kind of parental figure I had in my
Yeah.
life that led to this awesome person that I am.
Yes.
And you're definitely not that, but it makes me
He's not
wonder.
awesome? You're saying he's not awesome?
No, he's very awesome.
No,
But
I,
but
Right.
it makes me wonder how very how your mom completely devalued even her own self,
Yes.
that she couldn't welcome her own 10-year-old son.
I don't consider that as often as I need to, honestly, and I'm glad you pointed that out. Because I mean, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If I can attribute a lot of my failures as a parent to the things that happened to me as a child, it out of necessity, one must also do that same considering for the parent, right?
Mhm.
Who, yeah,
Because I don't think there's just people out there who are just inherently evil. You know
Well,
what I mean?
there's a
Like
couple.
they were born and they're just evil. I don't think there's a lot of that out there. I think a lot of it, we're born in this, we're born as an innocent kind of peaceful being, and then all of a sudden their surroundings create these things where we have these behaviors. It doesn't excuse it. It doesn't make the excuses
Right.
for it or make that. But
Absolutely
I
not.
think that that's what happens. And so there had to have been something that happened to your mom, and then addiction doesn't help staying in those patterns of behavior, but there's something going on there for sure.
Yes.
But again,
Tell
it
you,
doesn't excuse it. It doesn't take away the hurt that you
No,
experienced from that situation.
not at
no,
all.
no, I don't feel that way.
Yeah. Well, this is incredible. Janet, thanks so much for coming on. I really
Yeah.
have so much respect for you. Again, when I've seen him at shows, Terry, and stuff like that, he goes and takes photographs, and he comes back. We kind of had a home base for him in our booth and in our office, some of the shows we've been to together. And so he's always got this great energy when he comes back. He's just has that peacefulness about him that is
Yeah.
something that I'm automatically drawn to. So he's just that kind of person, and I just want and hope and really desire for your photography business to go really well and have every dream and thing that you have for it to succeed. And I think it will. I think you're already kind of on the cusp of that going up the hill. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I'm very hopeful. Um, it helps to be as connected as I am in the industry. Um, I think it helps to also be a sweet guy as opposed to uh, there's a lot of politics and arrogance roaming around our industry, which I'm sure it's any industry, right?
yeah,
Um, but it's been pointed out to me, and that's the only reason I'll bring it up. It's been pointed out to me that I'm a likable individual.
you are.
Um,
I would agree.
um, I wonder to give away the credit. Um, I wonder how much of that is genuinely because I want to be, or how much I just want to be liked or
Yeah.
approved of. You know what I mean? It's always a lingering question, but no, I genuinely enjoy people until I find out they're arrogant and then they can piss off.
I
And
just
that's how we end the podcast. With that.
I just think
That's
it's
well,
I just think I can just feel that's who you are. Just
yeah,
part of
yeah,
who you are.
I hate arrogance, dude. I just do. There's so many people like I'll throw Jason's name out there. I mean, here's a dude, Jason Brownlee.
yeah,
That's at the top of the Randy Angel, another one, top of the game. Now we're talking about two of the best designers in the world, right?
yeah,
Um, and you would never know it. They're the sweetest people. Would do anything for you to help you,
yeah,
to mentor you, to answer the phone for little old me, right?
yeah,
Um, it's these kind of people that really just make me want to vomit on the shoes of arrogant people.
Mm.
Like who are you? Like
But again, that's again, it's like there's a reason they're that way. It's the same thing. The arrogance is coming from a place of a paradigm that's something that they're trying to cover up or something they're trying to, to deal with. That's what's going on there. That's why they have to continue
Yeah.
to brag themselves.
Maybe they were never seen as a child.
Yep. That's what's going on.
But it's weird how different people react to the same thing differently.
Yeah.
Because that's my issue entirely. Like I was thinking about this the other day, and this probably my wife told me before going on here, don't give up too much information, because I do. Like I said, I'm easily vulnerable. See, just got taken away from me just like that.
And it can be these two completely different extremes.
Yes.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. So wanting approval, needing somebody else to confirm that I have value to bring to society. I need somebody to reassure, to affirm that I'm valuable, because right, I never got that as a kid. In fact, I got exactly the opposite. So
Right.
Anyway,
which is probably why arrogance in others can be kind of triggering.
Yep. 100%.
Yes. See, this is why talking about stuff like this is great.
Yep, it's true. And that desire to really want that approval, I have it too. Terry has it too. We're having less of it because we have the awareness around it. But yes, I have it too. And I always have to think to myself, am I saying yes to this because I really want to do this or because I'm trying to make them happy? I always think about that when I say yes to something that I maybe don't have time for, or I'm not getting paid for, or I'm providing some free advice. And I'm going, am I doing this because I really want to, or because I just want to make them happy? I always have to say that to myself. Like I have to give myself that question because I do it. I do it all the time. And a lot of us do. So that's a very common thing that a lot of folks can relate to, is you have to just have the awareness around it. And you have to kind of ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I wanting this? Why am I needing this disapproval? Why am I
or when you see someone and that's coming up for you with someone else, just go, why is that making me upset?
Yes.
And then just knowing, oh yeah, that's him doing that is bringing this up in me.
Yep,
and just and
yeah, but that takes the blame off of their shoulders and puts it onto mine.
But
it's
not blame though. But it's not blame. But then just not even going. It's not even that person. It's just this thing about it. It's not the person. It's just so. But it's not blame on you at all. It's just awareness.
Yeah, it's not blame.
What when I say blame, you have to you hold yourself accountable, and this is good relationship stuff as well. In couples relationship struggles, the issues that we face are the result of our ability or inability to react properly in a given situation. It bugs me when people say you made me angry. No, you chose to get angry. Right. And I'm aware of that. Yeah.
And like you said, and it's the reason it comes up a lot, because one thing that I'm very aware of is the victim thing. So when I get triggered by certain people, it's the victim thing. But I played a victim a lot. Like, it's not my fault, it's your fault. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I didn't take accountability for my life a lot. I didn't want to take accountability. So it was always everybody else's fault, not Terry's fault. Because that was my thing. I didn't want to be accountable for my choices and for things that happened in my life. So when I feel people not taking accountability for themselves, I get triggered. So I have to be very aware that it's not the person that's making me upset. It's the accountability part. So it's not ever that person. It's the lack of accountability that I'm hearing them not wanting to take. But I have to be aware of that I have to be aware of that in the language and go, oh, it's not them, Terry. It's this that's bringing something up in you. And so I have to be aware of it and just go, it's not the person. This is what is bringing it up in you. And so it's just, for me, it's just awareness, and it's still something that I'm working through. And it's why it keeps coming up in me, because I'm still working through it.
I imagine in your line of work, accountability is probably at the very top of your conversation.
Oh my gosh. And I see it all the time as a nurse, because, when we come in, as people come in, I don't want to take accountability for my health. Fix me. How can you fix me? I don't want to take accountability. It comes up all the time. And so there's a lot of times I have to go and walk out of the room and take a deep breath and go, okay, Terry, this is not about them. This is about you. And I have to put on a different face, and I have to know that it's about me, and walk back in there and show up completely different, knowing it's about me. So yeah, 100%. And it's just awareness. It's just awareness that you're still working on this thing.
Yeah.
Well, that was a nice way to end it. It all comes back to us. I think that's always the every single episode, the overlying messages. It's about this person right here. I wish there was another way to end it, but that's kind of how it works. Well, thank you so much.
Mirror, right? It's always just the mirror.
Right. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you being vulnerable and being honest and having that conversation. We really enjoyed you being here. And I tell you, you are going to help somebody else with your message. And that's all we can hope for, is if we can help one person, or even provide some sort of insight to any, one person or anybody or a handful of people, that we're making a difference. So thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Dan, really great to meet you. Your wife's beautiful. I already just went and followed you on Facebook. So I'm gonna go stalk your work.
I appreciate it. I
There's a
appreciate
link there's a link to his website with his beautiful photography in the show notes of this. You can link right to it. You can see it, and he's available for hire for different things. I don't think you do weddings, but other stuff.
Yeah,
but, I don't know. Yeah. So, and by the way, I'm gonna contact you about something coming up for Watershape U. So I'll do that separately. Thank you so much again, everybody out there.
Congratulations, Danny.
Thank you, hon. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
Have a wonderful week. And I don't know, was there a challenge this week for folks? Is it to really I think active listening is kind of our challenge, right, Terry? Based on the last episode we did, maybe our challenge to folks out there to, maybe have some active listening with someone around you, even somebody you don't necessarily agree with, and maybe, start understanding how.
I think that even in this episode from the last one we recorded too, just if you're hearing something that might be wrestling with, to kind of look a little deeper, and maybe there might be a little message in there for you.
Yes, 100%. All right. Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone. Like, subscribe, share with someone you think might be interested. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.